Hello students, so today we are going to start with the part 4 of our chapter that is human nutrition. So today starting with the topic physiology of digestion. As before going to start with the topic, I would like to highlight you people some of the things regarding the physiology of digestion. Physiology of digestion, it includes the various processes which involves in simplification of food. It involves the simplification of food. Digestion process is carried out by both mechanical as well as biochemical methods. Now, what do you mean by mechanical methods? Mechanical digestion includes various movements of alimentary canal that helps the chemical digestion. Whereas mastication or chewing of food is done by teeth, churning is done in stomach, and peristaltic movements of the gastrointestinal tract bring about the mechanical digestion in human body. So this is how the different types of the physiology of the digestion is done. As all till now we have seen that we are already aware that food we consume, it needs to be processed in order to utilize it completely, and therefore hence physiology of digestion should be get properly studied. Whereas chemical digestion, what do you mean by chemical digestion? Chemical digestion is a series of catabolic reactions, breaking down of the reactions that hydrolyze the food. So now we will study the process of physiology of digestion. Physiology of digestion, it involves the different topics like digestion in the buccal cavity, digestion in stomach, and digestion in small intestine. In the next slide, we are going to discuss one by one. Now we will see the digestion in buccal cavity. One of the reaction is there in front of you, but before discussing it, we will discuss something more regarding the digestion in buccal cavity. Under this, both mechanical and chemical digestion processes takes place in mouth. I am repeating it once more. Mechanical as well as chemical digestion process, they take place in the mouth in the form of mastication or chewing. What do you mean by mastication? Mastication is the mixing of the saliva with the food, and chewing is done by our teeth. So these two are the physical process. What? Mastication or chewing. Mastication or chewing of food takes place with the help of teeth and tongue. Okay? As I have said right now, chewing is done by teeth, whereas mastication is done by tongue. How? Because just below the tongue, our tongue secretes the saliva, and the mixing of the saliva with the food, this process is called as mastication. Therefore, mastication is done by tongue, whereas chewing is done by teeth. Okay. Now, next word. Teeth crushes and grind the food. As you all know very well, the function of our teeth is what? It crushes and grind the food. Tongue manipulates the food. What does it do? It manipulates the food. Crushing of food becomes easier. Crushing of food, it becomes easier when it gets moistened by saliva. The food which is get crushed off with the help of the teeth, it gets moisturized or it gets moistened up with the help of with the presence of or the mixing of saliva from the tongue. Mucus in the saliva lubricates the food. Now from where the mucus comes? Saliva contains the mucus also. Okay? So, and what do you mean by mucus? It is the sticky substance. It is a sticky substance which is present in the saliva and it lubricates the food. It makes the food more slippery. Okay? So mucus in the saliva, it lubricates the food as well as it helps in binding the food particles. It helps in binding the food particles into a mass of food. It will bind the food into a mass of food, and this mass of food is called as bolus. It is called as bolus. B-O-L-U-S. Then this bolus is swallowed by deglutition. As we swallow the mass of food, now the process of this swallowing of the bolus or mass of food is called as what? deglutition. The tongue presses the... Now what happens after this? After the swallowing of the bolus, after the swallowing of the mass of the food, the tongue presses against the palate and pushes the bolus into the pharynx. The tongue presses against the palate. Palate means जो हम तालू बोलते हैं ना, that is called as what? Palate. So the tongue, what does it do? The tongue presses against the palate and pushes the bolus into the pharynx, the next organ after the tongue. Then bolus further passes to the esophagus. As it passes from tongue to pharynx, then from pharynx to esophagus. Okay? Now moving on, the saliva contains. Now here we will discuss what is the content of saliva. So that the content of saliva is, it contains 98% of water and 2% of other constituents. Now what are these other constituents? The other constituents are electrolytes and digestive enzymes. The 2% of saliva, it contains electrolytes and digestive enzyme. Now, which are the electrolytes which it contains? Which are the electrolytes which is contained by saliva? So the electrolytes are sodium, potassium, calcium chloride, bicarbonates. So these are all the different kinds of electrolytes which are present in the saliva. Okay? And the next thing, what is present in the saliva? In this 2%, electrolyte and digestive enzyme. Under digestive enzyme, which digestive enzyme is present in the saliva? Salivary amylase. Salivary amylase. Salivary amylase is the digestive. It is the digestive enzyme which is present in the saliva. Okay, and the remaining is what? 98% of water. So I am repeating it once more. Our human saliva, it contains 98% of water in it and 2% of electrolytes and digestive enzymes. And digestive enzyme is over here is salivary amylase. Coming to next point, the only chemical digestion that takes place in mouth is done by the action of salivary amylase. So I can say over here in a much more better way, that is salivary amylase, it do the chemical digestion. With the help of the salivary amylase, chemical digestion is done in mouth. It helps in the conversion. Now how the chemical digestion takes place? So now comes the reaction which is present in front of you. Okay, now see towards the reaction. In reaction, it is there what it is there. Here you can see the conversion of starch is there into maltose. Starch is converted into maltose, and this conversion is done by the enzyme is called as salivary amylase. From where does this salivary amylase come? It comes from the saliva, which is one of the digestive enzyme. Means it helps in the digestion process. Okay. Then starch is a polysaccharide, whereas maltose is a disaccharide. Now I would like to say you that digestion is the process. You all know very well what do you mean by digestion. Digestion is conversion of the complex molecule into the simpler one to make the digestion more healthy enough. So digestion is what? Conversion of the complex compound into simpler one. So here the complex compound is what? Starch. It is polysaccharides. Means they are made up of n numbers of sugars. Saccharide, they are the sugars. So starch is one of the carbohydrate. Therefore it is called saccharide. So they are made up of n numbers of carbohydrates, n numbers of sugars. And this n numbers, and this is the complex compound. So it is converted down, or you can say it is broken down into its smaller particle. So starch is broken down into its smaller particle, that is called maltose, which is a disaccharide. Okay. poly means more than 3 or more than 3 units. 3 or more than 3 units of saccharide. Whereas this 3 or more than 3 units of saccharide, that is starch, is chopped down, is broken down, is converted down into maltose, into the smaller form. And that is disaccharide. 2 units of sugar. And this conversion is done with the help of the enzyme, and the name of that enzyme is salivary amylase. Okay? And about 30% of the starch gets converted into maltose in mouth only. I am repeating it once more. About 30% of starch gets converted to maltose in mouth only. Now, coming to the next point, saliva also contains lysozyme. This is also one of the enzyme. Saliva also contains lysozyme. It acts as an antibacterial agent. This lysozyme, it acts as a antibacterial agent that prevents the infection. It means what? It will kill all the bacteria whichever and whenever the bacteria comes from the outside source, from the foreign source, or if any of the foreign particle comes, like in the form of bacteria or any of the microorganisms, then this lysozyme will kill that bacteria. Therefore, it is called as what? They are antibacterial agent. And this is how they prevent the infections. Because just because of these microorganisms, just because of the entry of these microorganisms, the several different organisms and bacteria, all the different kinds of infections takes place. So, this lysozyme, it helps the person to get prevented from any kind of infection, as they are antibacterial. And coming to the next point, the bolus. Now coming to the bolus. The bolus further passes down through regurgitation or vomiting. The bolus further passes down through the esophagus by peristalsis. The bolus will further passes down through the esophagus by peristaltic movement, by the up and down movement of the side corners of the esophagus. That is called as what? Peristaltic movement. By the zigzag movement of the inner walls of the esophagus. That is called as what? Peristaltic movement. Sometimes the regurgitation or vomiting takes place due to reverse spasmodic peristalsis. Now, what does it mean? What does this statement mean? Sometimes what happens? Regurgitation occurs. Regurgitation is the medical term for vomiting. What happens? Sometimes vomiting takes place due to reverse spasmodic peristalsis. Reverse spasmodic peristalsis means when the zigzag movement of the inner lines, inner corners, inner lines of the esophagus is done in the upward portion, then it will throw out all the food which has not been properly digested into the backward flow. And this is called as what? Reverse spasmodic peristalsis. And in common language, it is called vomiting, whereas in medical term, this vomiting is called as regurgitation. Okay? Now, food from the esophagus, it enters the stomach. Now, as food, it was there, it came up till esophagus. From esophagus, it enters in the stomach. After coming into the stomach, the gastroesophageal sphincter controls the passage of food. It controls the passage of food into the stomach. So, this is how the digestion in the buccal cavity takes place. Now, coming to our next topic, that is digestion in stomach. How the digestion takes place in the stomach. Both mechanical and chemical digestion takes place in stomach. The stomach stores the food for 4 to 5 hours. Stomach, it stores the food for 4 to 5 hours. The physical digestion happens by churning of the food. The physical digestion, that is the chopping and cutting down of all the food materials, it takes place by the churning of the food. Thick muscular wall of stomach, it helps in the churning process. Who do the churning process? The thick muscular wall of stomach. Churning further breaks down the food particles and also helps in through mixing of gastric juice. It also helps in thorough mixing of gastric juice with the food. What does it do? What does the churning process do? Churning breaks down the food particles and also it helps in the thorough mixing, in overall mixing of the gastric juice with the food. This gastric juice, it comes from the gastric gland, which helps in the digestion process as the food comes into the stomach. Okay? So, churning, it breaks down the food particles and helps in the proper mixing with the gastric juice and food. Okay? Now, the mucosa layer of the stomach has gastric gland. The mucosa layer of the stomach, they have gastric gland. Each gastric glands, they has 3 major types of cells. I am repeating it. Each gastric glands, they has 3 major types of cells. What are they? They are namely, first one, mucus cells, peptic cells, which is also called chief cells, and parietal cells, also called ossentic cells. Here we will consider only 2 words. We will not see the or part. We will just see there are 3 types of the cell which is contained by the gastric gland. First, they are mucus cell. Second, they are chief cells. And third, they are parietal cells. Okay? As you can see these names, the chief cells and parietal cell in front of your slide. Okay? So, to understand you people, I am discussing all this so that I can make you clear the given picture in front of you. Okay? Okay. Moving on, peptic cell secretes the, I will not say peptic cell over here, I will say chief cell, they secrete the proenzyme pepsinogen. Chief cell, it secretes the proenzyme pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is the proenzyme. Parietal cell secretes HCl. Peptic cell, what? Peptic cell secretes proenzyme pepsinogen, whereas parietal cells, they secretes the HCl. An intrinsic factor which is essential for the absorption of vitamin B12. And they also secrete an intrinsic factor, or something which is essential for the absorption of vitamin B12 of our body, from our body. Thus, gastric juice contains mucus, inactive enzyme pepsinogen, HCl, and intrinsic factor. So, these are the content of gastric juice. What does it contain? It contains mucus, number 1. Number 2, inactive enzyme pepsinogen. Third one, HCl. And fourth and the last one is intrinsic factor. In infants, stomach also secretes renin. In infants, in young babies, stomach also secretes renin. Mucus protects the inner lining of stomach from HCl, which is present in the gastric juice. Now, HCl, which is present in the gastric juice, it makes the food acidic. Okay, as you all know, HCl, it is a hydrochloric acid. So, it makes the food acidic and stops the action of salivary amylase. It kills the germs that might be present in the food. It kills the germs that might be present in the food. Pepsinogen got converted into active enzyme pepsin. Pepsinogen is converted into active enzyme pepsin in the acidic medium provided by HCl. In the presence of pepsin, proteins in the food get converted into a simpler form like peptones and proteases. So this is how the reaction is there in front of you. I am repeating it once more. Pepsinogen is converted into pepsin. Pepsinogen is an inactive enzyme which is converted into pepsin, which is the active enzyme in the presence of hydrochloric acid. Now this pepsin, which is an active enzyme, it converts the protein the larger molecule into a smaller particle, that is peptones and proteoses. Proteoses are also called as the amino acids. So this is all about the digestion in the stomach. Now we will discuss regarding the last topic of this chapter. Not the last topic, but today's lecture. The last topic of this today's lecture, that is digestion in small intestine. How does the digestion in small intestine takes place? In small intestine, before there are certain reactions is there in front of you. So before discussing on that, I would like to highlight some of the points regarding the digestion in small intestine. First listen that, then we'll discuss the figure given in front of you. Okay. In the small intestine, intestinal juice, bile juice and pancreatic juice, they are mixed with the food. What happens over here? In small intestine, the intestinal juice, bile juice and pancreatic juice, they all are mixed with the food. Then peristaltic movements of the muscularis layer helps in proper mixing of digestive juices with the chyme. Bile juice and pancreatic juice are poured in duodenum through the hepatopancreatic duct. Then bile juice is a dark green colored fluid that contains the bile pigments. What do you mean by bile juice? It is the dark green colored fluid that contains the bile pigments. And which are these pigments? These are bilirubin and biliverdin. This biliverdin, it gives the color to our feces. Okay. Whereas bile pigments is the bile salts also. Bile juice, they contain the bile pigments and bile salts. Bile salts are sodium glycocolate and sodium taurocolate. These are the bile salts. Whereas it also contains cholesterol and phospholipid. So these are the content of the bile juice. There are 4 different contents of the bile juice: bile pigment, bile salts, cholesterol and phospholipid. And bile juice is itself a dark green colored fluid. Okay. Bile does not contain any digestive enzyme in it. Bile salts neutralize the acidity of chyme and make it alkaline. This is the function of the bile salt. What does it do? It neutralizes the acidity of chyme and make it alkaline. It brings about the emulsification of fats. It brings about the emulsification of fat means it brings about the digestion of the fat, the cutting or the chopping of the fat. That is called emulsification. It also activates the lipid digesting enzymes or lipase. It highlights or activates the lipid digesting enzymes. That is lipase or lipases. Bile pigments impart color to fecal matter. As I have said earlier, bile pigments, that is bilirubin and biliverdin, they give as their pigment, they give color to our fecal matter. Then pancreatic juice. It's all about the bile juice. Now we will see regarding the pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice, they are secreted by the pancreas that contains the pancreatic amylases, lipases and inactive enzymes, trypsinogen and chymotrypsinogen. These are the inactive enzyme which is secreted by the pancreatic juice. Okay. Pancreatic juice also contain nucleases. What is nucleases? It is the enzymes that digest the nucleic acid, and hence the name is given as nucleases. The intestinal mucosa secretes the digestive enzymes. The goblet cells of mucosa produce mucus.
Mucus plus intestinal enzymes together constitute the intestinal juice or succus entericus. The intestinal juice contains the various enzymes like dipeptidases, lipases, disaccharides. Okay. Now, both pancreatic and intestinal lipases initially convert fat into fatty acids and diglycerides. Diglycerides are further converted to monoglycerides by removal of fatty acid from glycerol. The mucus and bicarbonates present in the pancreatic juice protect the intestinal mucosa and provide the alkaline medium for enzymatic action. Submucosal Brunner's glands help in the action of goblet cells. Now we will see the actual figure which is given. We will discuss regarding the actual figure. We will discuss regarding the actual figure which is given in front of you. So here in this figure it is given as what are the digestions which takes place the small intestine. Under that, first one, amylase, which is the enzyme, it digests the starch to maltose. It means what? It converts the starch into maltose. Who? Amylase. Where it is done? In small intestine. Coming to next, trypsin digests the protein. Now what do you mean by this? Trypsin, it converts the polypeptides into peptides. Okay, therefore it is written as they digest the proteins, trypsin. Then coming to the last, the lipase for digesting the fat. Lipase for digesting fat. So lipase, it breaks down the emulsified fat into fatty acids plus glycerol. Lipase, it's broken down. Lipase, it's broke down the emulsified fat into its smaller units, fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, now for today, this will be enough for today's lecture. We will continue in the next lecture. Now coming to the last topic of this today's lecture. Okay, so what is that? It is the assimilation and egestion. What do you mean by assimilation? It is defined as the process by which protoplasm is synthesized into each cell of the body by utilizing simple food, because if it remains in the body, it becomes toxic to the body. Okay, so assimilation is done. What? It is defined as the process by which protoplasm is synthesized. The nucleus and the cytoplasm. Nucleus plus cytoplasm, it is called as protoplasm. So it is made up, it is synthesized into each and every cell of the body by utilizing the simple food, the food what we eat. Because if it remains in the body, it becomes more toxic to the body and it will be very harmful for the body inside also and outside also. Okay, this is called as what? Assimilation. Then coming to the last part, that is the egestion. After the process of digestion in small intestine, useful part and water is reabsorbed. The useful part, the part which is of use, and the water which is also of use is reabsorbed from the food, and unwanted semi-solid called feces is thrown out of the body through anus. So this is the proper last portion of the physiology of digestion, that is the assimilation and egestion. Now we are ending up with today's lecture. We'll discuss in the next lecture. Thank you so much.
And here I'm Tuba Ansari signing off with my today's lecture. Wassalatu wassalam.